Welcome back to the OPL, guys, where we're going to have Avantgarde taking on the Direwolves. However, Direwolves will start one game down during to a game one forfeit, so they will swap over to the blue side for game number one. I'm still Spawn, joined by Bensel and Frostgurn, just to go through some of the, logistics of what happened here. So, Direwolves made an emergency sub. They therefore lost all their bans, waited 5 minutes, and could not field a starting roster with Rippy as their top laner. Therefore, they forfeited game one. They then made an in-between game substitute, which is, as per the OPL rules, to bring Chippies back onto their starting lineup, and waited the 15 minutes, which is a loss of 3 bans, in which case he was able to make the in-game lobby. So we're about to get into Champ Select in just some time, with Chippies being the starting roster. So with that in mind, let's take a look at Direwolves' roster for this game, which will be game number 2. It will be Chippies in the top lane, Sybil, their jungler, Fantix, their perfect mid laner, Raze and Regret are their AD carry and bottom lane. And of course, they will be going up against Avantgarde, who will start this game 1 up. It's going to be Triple D in the top lane as a substitute, Shelby, their jungler, Triple in the mid lane, Chenny Boy, their AD carry, and Jake, their support. And I want to break into this one because, no bans, already lost a game, and Avantgarde have been on a tear lately. This has got to be backs against the walls for the Direwolves.
Yeah, it's funny. If you'd asked me before the set, I would have said Direwolves 2-0 because I think they have the stronger roster. But with no bans and a loss down, I think that's really going to hurt them.
See, I'm actually on the other side. I don't think that these bans really matter at all. I still think that the Direwolves are going to lose and that they would have lost even with all of their bans and the starting roster anyway.
So what's the logic behind that? Come on. Everyone has hyped up this Wolfpack roster. I mean, you've got Chippies back on the lineup. It's arguably his patch. You got Perfection in the mid lane, Fantix. What is it about Avantgarde that you like so much right now, Frost?
In all honesty, when you go pound for pound, I do agree that you're looking, especially at the bottom lane, Regret 9, Jakey nowhere near as good as Regret 9 in terms of performance. Cheney Boy is also an issue on the AD carry position. So you look at the bottom lane, it's weaker for Avantgarde, but for whatever reason, Shelby and Triple are just so good right now. And yes, you have Fantix on the other side, but I don't think Sybil can put up the exact same performance that Shelby can unless he's on a very specific, very limited champion pool.
All right, let's actually bring up Triple because he's a player that a lot of people are excited about right now, and it seems like he's going through a couple of mid laners at the moment. I don't know why there's an X over Swiffer right now.
I'm pretty sure Swiffer won that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Swiffer destroyed that one, but he definitely took out Mr. Choo Choo's. He also had a very good performance against Rymeister when he played you guys as well. So this is a young mid laner, and going up against Fantix, someone that's been a veteran of the OPL team. How do you rate Fantix versus Triple right now?
I think Triple is a really high-pressure mid laner. He really knows how to pressure his lane, roam around the map. He does it really well. But I think that Fantix just has too much lane control and will neutralize him really well. That's why I don't see it as such a big swing in the matchup.
Frost, you're shaking your head.
Fantix does not have a good... here's the weird thing. Obviously newer to the OPL than some of the other guys who have been around since the beginning for it. And they keep telling me, Fantix is amazing. You have to go back. He's always been... yes, Fantix is very good. I think that his mechanics are great, but I just am not seeing what everyone else is seeing. And I'm just kind of waiting for Fantix to step up and prove himself of why people speak so highly of him. Yes, he deserves to be in that elite group of the OPL mid laners, but I think that Triple is as good, if not better.
All right, cool. So if we think that Triple might be better than Fantix, might not, that one can go back and forward. One lane I do think is going to be a little bit of a wash is the top lane. Want to have a look at Chippies, because if there is a patch that is going to be Chippies' patch, it has to be this one. I mean, he's playing a Jax, he's playing Aurelia, he's playing Trundle, all pretty much carry top laners. This is someone that you should be very familiar with, Bensel. Going up against DDD in the top lane substitute, Chippies should be able to carry this game if he can step up for the Direwolves.
Yeah, I think he was the big reason that I was going to say that this was a duo for Direwolves. I really feel like this is his meta, and if he gets one of these champions, then he's just going to go off, and especially against AV, who have just been playing with a different top laner every week, I don't think they're going to be able to handle it.
But that's the thing. It's the fact that they don't have a top laner, and they still beat Legacy. They've been going through substitutions. They have Chenny Boy and Jake as their bottom.
Legacy didn't have a top laner that week either. They're playing with a substitute. Tally is injured.
That's why it's also the other side. The fact that they have a substitute in the top laner, they have a bot lane which isn't performing or is part of the bottom tier of bot lanes in the OPL, and they're still managing to win games. It sounds so weird to go all in on Shelby and Triple, but they're actually that good of a duo, and they're very important in the meta. And the fact that Avant just took down Legacy, now looking across on the Direwolves, I still think Legacy are much stronger than the Direwolves.
I agree. I'm just saying that you have to compare oranges with oranges, Frostgurn, and they actually played with a substitute. So Direwolves right now not playing with a sub, playing with a lot of lost bans, a lot of lost time. So they might be a little bit emotionally rattled, but they technically have their full starting 5. What do we know about Triple D, DDD in the top lane? Have you scrimmed against him, without going into results of scrims? What is he, a solo queue player? Do you know his champion pool for a Spencil?
Yeah, he's a solo queue player. from what I know, he has a very solo QS champion pool that goes with it. So he's been trying to play meta stuff as far as I know, but there's only so much you can do in a week.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, there's a lot of communication issues that this team has to be able to iron out now, bringing in another person. I guess the fact that they are all solo queue players that they have brought into Avant have to help out. I mean, RSI Paradise, who is serving a suspension right now, is also of a similar mindset. So hopefully that doesn't rattle the team too much, and we'll see whether they can play towards their mid and AD carry. I guess one area I do want to look at for the Direwolves is their bottom lane, because you briefly touched on it, Frost, but Ray's Regret, this is a bottom lane that we have hyped up. Ray's kind of stepping into the shoes of King as being as a new, young, aggressive AD carry. Regret adding a little bit more level-headedness to that bottom lane. What have you made of their success so far, Bensel, in regards to how this bottom lane has come together?
They're playing really well. But the thing about it in this matchup is I don't even see them needing to stomp AV's bot lane. I just feel like either Chelby goes off, or if Chelby doesn't go off, then I think Direwolves have too many pressure points across the map, if not for Chelby.
All right, cool. So I'm going to do it anyway. Direwolves, they're down a game. They have no bans. Frost, coming to you. Is this just a 2-0 to Avant, pack it up early, send us home? Or do you think the Direwolves bite back?
I have that much faith in Chelby and how he's playing right now, and especially in tandem with Triple. I think Cheney, they've recognized, just put him on a utility AD carry, put him on the Sivir, put him on the Ashe, and have him do his job. He doesn't need to step up and be a carry, because again, yes, Regret and Raze are better than Cheney and Jicky pound for pound, but it's not an AD carry or bot lane focus meta. Radier knows that best.
All right, so very heavily in favor of Avant-Garde. Bensel, coming to you. Do you think Direwolves can peg it back? Is this going to be a 2-0?
I think AV are a smart team. And I think with Direwolves having no bans, I think that is really going to hurt them a lot. I think we're going to see this draft go pretty badly for them.
All right.
I'm just waiting for it.
Well, we'll see whether that is the case, guys. The players are finally ready to get onto Summoner's Rift, so I don't want to hold you here any longer. Here is Rogi and Rusty to take us into what is game 2, technically, of Avant-Garde versus Direwolves.
Thank you so much, Spawn. We are finally here, jumping into game number 2 after an unfortunate set of events. But Direwolves, they're down a game, lost all their bans, and versing Avant, who are fresh off a win against Legacy. The odds are well and truly not in their favor tonight, Rusty.
No, and I do quickly want to speak towards the desk's predictions as well. And whilst they say that there might be complete belief in Chelby, I don't believe the same thing.
Okay.
But I believe in Triple 100%. So AV is still absolutely looking strong. And it comes down to that mid lane matchup. Who gets the power pick? And there's no bans from Direwolves, so they might both just get power picks. I'm very curious to see how AV actually respond to this one now and what DDD can even bring to the table.
That's exactly right. Whilst 3 is a very small number in the overall champion pool in League of Legends, but 3 characters that are usually banned away, slipping through the cracks. That's
Ryze.
it. Yep. You've got a death squad right there, Rusty.
Yeah, it's a big death ball, and most of those are usually banned. So we'll see, honestly, if AV look to prioritize the Vladimir, I would have to say, simply because Direwolves are first pick.
Sure.
And the real goal here is either target ban or take away the stronger first pick option so that your first rotation on red side gets 2 of the best.
We can see that Swain already taken away, so they understand that they don't want to give Direwolves that first pick here, and with so many with 3 champions not getting banned away here, Direwolves have the potential to really pick themselves up something very impactful.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse all the same, right? Remembering that AV are actually starting this one 1-0 up, it could play to the mentality of the Direwolves moving into this drafting phase and even the early stages of the first game. Once you're on a Rift, usually everything evens out nicely.
Feeling very rattled, I'm sure this Direwolves squad is after the turnover events, but so it's far 2 for 2, Rusty, Swain and Ryze out of the pick so far. We're just waiting on Vlad to complete that holy mage trinity right now.
Yeah, they're teasing me. Fantix has played Vladimir and played it very well, so they should just remove that one from the table. I would imagine a no hesitation ban. And because they went Swain and Ryze as their first 2, it is the only major outlier that is left standing in those initial 3 predictions.
It's a great point in that regard. What do Direwolves actually value as first pick here then?
Getting rid of the 3 mages means that perhaps something like the Azir taken away from Triple could be something they look towards. Of course, AV, no surprises.
Yep.
There are also jungle options in Rek'Sai in particular. And Chippies has a very strong Aurelia and Jax, but I don't know if they want to early rotate those. And perhaps the Braum away from Jakey in the support role. And Ashe from Cheney. I think there are plenty of options here for both of these teams, but as a first pick, I'd consider taking away that Azir.
Azir is a very strong champion. We've seen Triple play him very, very well in the past, so wouldn't be surprised to see them deny that away, as they did lose out their ban. So it's really denying a champion the only way they can, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. They should be. But of
the
course,
Trundle here.
Chippies has a lot of things in his back pocket, may have knowledge of what DDD does play.
Well, sure, Chippies, despite having a affinity towards the Jackson Aurelia, goes for the safe pick of that Trundle. Direwolves locking that one in right away.
And the potential flex that comes out of a Trundle is noteworthy. And I don't think that early rotating, when it's Fantix on your team, your mid laner makes too much sense for the side of Direwolves. Based off how their last series went against Sin, didn't have the greatest time on Summoner's Rift, getting Fantix camped to high heavens.
And we see Avant locking themselves in that Rek'Sai and Ezreal. Very popular first 2 picks here. Great champion. Ezreal just rising back up in that popularity now. Rek'Sai,
Yeah.
one of the staple junglers. Has such an amazing kit, unique gank paths. Tremescence.
Does
She's
it
got
all.
She's got it all.
Honestly does everything, yeah. So high early damage, high gank pressure. It doesn't really matter. Rek'Sai covers all of those. The Ezreal, as a first rotation though from AV, seems like it's less of a strategy denial type of pick than anything else. Like
Sure.
they just don't want to show the rest of their hand. I feel like Chenny, knowing that he could play his Ashe that was banned from them, would have potentially worked out. It says to me that a lot of the emphasis is on denying perhaps the Ezreal from Raze.
Sure.
And it is one of the answers in terms of drafting to Lucian. So
Potentially see some Graves here, which is haven't seen Graves in quite some time, and it does actually get locked in for the Direwolves.
yeah, so they're locked in their their second rotation rather of drafting, and Sybil has been playing a fair bit of Graves recently.
Sure.
Not too surprising to see him lock that one in. It does do plenty of damage. It farm heavy as well, I'd say. The ganks aren't as potent as that of a Rek'Sai, but as the game progresses and as the Graves starts to outscale perhaps the Rek'Sai for damage, Direwolves could find themselves sitting pretty. But it does say to me that by locking in the Karma, locking in the Graves, Chippies kind of has to be there in every single team fight that happens, unless Fantix decides that he wants to play a tank.
That's exactly right. That Karma, such a facilitator, basically has an improved Sivir ult, allowing everyone to just get in the fight whilst also having the shield on top of them. But Avant, they still have such a wide variety of champions available to them, and they're going to go with the safe pick Azir.
Yeah, locking in that Azir. We even said Direwolves perhaps wanted to first pick something. They don't look for the Azir. Triple gets it.
Jake's played a ton of Nami, so no surprise to see him going back to what's tried and true.
Yep, so it's Nami Ezreal bottom lane. There's a fair bit of damage that comes out of the poke from those two. There's also a lot of sustain between them. And they shouldn't actually ever get pushed out. And Ashe Karma, if they were to lock the Ashe in, is a lot of wave clear and lane control. But that could be all they really get from it, as AV are quite safe at the moment.
We saw all the strengths that Ashe Karma does have earlier on in the night with Chiefs running that. Looks like this could potentially be a Twisted Fate in the mid lane for Fantix.
Could be a Fizz, could be a Kassadin.
There's a lot of things he's got. He played Kassadin last week, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's had Fizz banned from him all of last week also. I mean, Fantix, again, one of the more experienced members in the Oceanic scene, up against a young and thriving mid laner in Triple. Still has what it takes to give it to the best mid laners in the OPL and the server, honestly. Fantix still quite impressive, but yet to really arrive and give it his all.
It looks like we will be seeing that Twisted Fate and the Ashe both being locked in, rounding out the composition for Direwolves. So now Avant just have their top laner left, and they've got their sights set on the Echo, but Echo's kind of fallen off recently, giving rise to that Aurelia and Jax.
Fallen off a little bit, but also knowing that it's a Trundle that he's going to be against means it may not fall off as heavily. There's still plenty of options. DDD is basically the same as every other AV top laner that they have had so far. And he plays carries.
Oh, there you go. There's not a top laner around that can carry quite as well as the Grand Duelist herself, so DDD going to be locking himself up, that Fiora up against Chippy's Trundle.
Yeah, so Trundle Fiora top lane, one of the old school potentially matchups. I'm thinking like Worlds 2015. That's not really old school. Either way, the Fiora gets levels, and when you hit level 6, you can just outright ult the Trundle. Level 11, you can do it as well and just try and bully, out-sustain, and outscale what a Trundle provides. In terms of split pushing, they're reasonably matched also. And I mean, AV's potentially biggest weakness is going to be their ability to get around the map and actually team fight, where the pick from Direwolves is unreal.
I'm glad to see Triple recognizing the CC on this side of Direwolves, picks himself up that cleanse. going to provide a world of difference should the Ashe ult come from off-screen into a gold card. Could be scary.
It's one of the things that tilts me the most, honestly.
Yeah.
Seeing mid laners against an Ashe and a Twisted Fate, and they go for Ghost instead of Cleanse or something. It's just
You
grinds
can't
my
outrun.
gears.
You can't outrun the gold card.
No.
it's gonna come down whether you like it enough. If you're running far enough, he'll just ult on top of you, get it regardless, right?
And Death turns you into a Ghost anyway, right? You don't necessarily need the Summoner spell.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But looking forward to seeing how this game winds down. Unfortunately, of course, Direwolves, they are already down 0-1, backs against the wall, potentially feeling rattled. But of course, as Frost mentioned on the desk, they actually have their full lineup now.
Yeah, absolutely. So having the full lineup back could help a little bit, to say the least. The Direwolves are... They're a resilient side. I guess they're known for coming back from 0-1 deficits, and this, I guess, is no exception to that rule.
Yeah, unfortunately, guys, we do have a slight pause, which will explain why we aren't going straight into the game. So another unfortunate series of events in tonight's games.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, of course, AV not going to be too rattled about it themselves. Sure. It's still an important match for them, and we do have to talk towards that because AV are absolutely stamping the foot now in the OPL themselves, taking it to 3 games against the Chiefs, beating Legacy. Direwolves feels like the natural third team in that transition of working their way through the big names of the OPL League.
A lot of people saying they've cemented themselves as the top 3, one of the top 3 at the moment after taking out Legacy. But of course, Direwolves currently hold that number 3 spot while Avant, they are down on 5th. So like you said, this will kind of silence the haters and once and for all really assert that position.
Yeah, perhaps it may. Of course, we're yet to see the outcome of this series, but if AV can do it, I think it at the very least does secure them the 3rd position in the rankings, and it has been alluded towards, but we keep saying it that like, they're against Direwolves. Direwolves are an experienced roster, and absolutely you should expect that coming up against them, Direwolves can bite back quite hard.
Well, they both have very strong team compositions as well, so they both have that desire to get to rank 1. Of course, which team doesn't really? And it must suck feeling everyone saying, Ivana top 3, Ivana top 3, and they're sitting there in number 3 thinking, but guys, we're in number 3 right now. Come on, none of that.
Direwolves are notorious for being the semi-final team.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that's always plagued them and kind of cursed them throughout this OPL history that they've now had. They make it to the finals, they beat Legacy one time and then lost in the final, and then it was semi-final defeat, always marred by their performances. So it's unfortunate, but now they've got a big opportunity, and we've said this, they've got a star-studded roster. And really, on paper, should be doing better than they currently are.
And there's nothing better than when your star-studded rosters meta just falls into place. Chippy's, he's got that kind of pick of champions. No carry top laner likes to have to play the Maokai, the Echo. Even though Echo did do quite well, but it always feels good to go back on that Aurelia and Jax where you can really just show off your skills.
It was the same thing as the old Tallywhacker problem where he played a lot of carries. They transitioned the meta to tanks, and he just didn't really want to do it. But Echo was this really cool middle ground between I can be a carry whilst being a tank and still have a lot of relevance. And it was essentially what almost got Legacy over the line against the Chiefs this time around. And whenever Tally returns, Chippy's in particular, which is the point that we're making here, is well and truly in this meta. Loves Aurelia, loves Jax, can hard carry with it. We've seen performances from him where Direwolves have lost the game, but he still looked like he was a fantastic top laner and potentially outlaned his opponent. So I feel like this particular series up against what is an unknown name in DDD could cause a lot of problems, honestly, for Direwolves.
He's on the Trundle, and a lot of people have difficulty really dealing with the Trundle once he gets those 2 core items. It's just such a split push menace, and maybe Fiora might be the answer here, but if she gets behind, she's going to stay behind.
Yeah, Fiora's similar to tanks, really, in that vein of thought, where if you get Fiora behind, she generally stays there. Same thing goes with tanks due to the itemization of having to be a tank. Whereas if she gets ahead, which is always possible against this Trundle in a 1v1 matchup, she pretty much just runs away with the entire game. But to be fair, if she's behind, that means Trundle's ahead.
Yeah,
Trundle does the exact same thing.
It's going to be very, very difficult for them to deal with. Luckily, they both do go into that Tiamat build, so it wouldn't be too hard for her to deal with it in the late game when those minions start piling up and Trundle's off doing his own thing, getting sped up by Karma.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely merit in that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we are going to throw it back to the desk one last time.
Don't jig yourself, Rogu. We could be here for a while. Hi, guys. I'm still Sport, joined by Pencil and Proskiri down the end of the desk. And we're here to just fill you in. Unfortunately, the top laner for Avant Garde, their new substitute, DDD, is saying there is something wrong with one of his summoner spells. So whilst we investigate that and determine whether there needs to be any further action, you're just going to chill with us on the desk. And, you know, we've seen the pick ban once. We don't know whether that's going to be a game of record or whether we get a new pick ban. But I don't know if I would ever get to say this. So I'm glad. With 3 bans lost, on red side of Summoner's Rift, where you get 2 power points, I actually think that Avant Garde just lost champion select Pencil. That is a rare feat.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to do it. I think it all comes from, once again, early rotating that Ezreal when Ashe and Sivir are up. I still don't really understand it. Like, I mean, there are so many AD carries available. I don't see why you think that champion is so powerful.
And you know, there have been some changes to Trinity Force, so players do see Ezreal as a little bit more of a late game scaling option, but it just limits you so much to what you can actually play. Frost, want to bring you in on this. You know, they burn out the 3 like very, very strong mid laners in the Ryze and the Vlad and the Swain, but from there, just looks like they fumble a little bit because they don't really take away anything of priority that Direwolves would want to have picked up on the blue side of Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, Fantic's got the Twisted Fate is probably like the big stick out for me. So he's fine in terms of that mid lane. You got the Ashe, you have the Karma. Like I think Bensel said it best. The priority on the Ezreal, if you're going to take second rotation, priority, just pick Karma and Rek'Sai. Like, there's no need to reveal your hand so early. I understand that Cheney Boy probably comfortable on Ezreal. He used to be a mid laner. Ezreal did have a stint as a mid champion, so maybe...
Reaching, that's what we call that one in the professional business.
I'm trying.
But when you have a look down the roster of the Direwolves, there are a lot of things in there that you consider banning against them. I mean, Trundle is a very good late game split pushing. You know they want to play 1-4. The fact that, you know, they've got Twisted Fate, which is very, very good, especially in the hands of Fantix, is also a plus. Sure, there are things on Avant Garde's lineup, like the Azir and the Fiora, that you don't want to play against this team either, but that just seems a little bit bizarre. I want to speak about mentality now going into the game. I mean, you're a coach. What are you doing right now to try and keep, like, if you're Avant Garde especially, like, you've had to wait 40 minutes to get onto Summoner's Rift. Now there's a potential remake looming in the distance. Like, what are you going through with your players right now? How are you trying to keep them focused?
Well, coaches aren't allowed in the TeamSpeak at that time. So, but if you're talking about in like a scrim situation, then yeah, I mean, you just want to say, you know, like everyone relax for now. You know, try not to think about it too much. Just whatever the game plan was, just keep it the same. Don't let anything spoil that for now.
All right, cool. So Direwolves and Avant just both trying to stay level-headed. However, guys, we have heard that the issue has been resolved. So here it is, back to our casters to get us into game.
Welcome back, guys. Hopefully we'll be jumping back into the game very soon.
Yep, that would be fantastic. I would imagine, as I said,
Such
the issue
an
was
epic
resolved.
series. I was looking forward to these games all night.
Yeah,
So-
and it's going to be good whenever we do get onto Summoner's Rift.
Hey, there we go. Jumping into Summoner's Rift. Direwolves versus Avant, of course. Avant are up 1-0 already, but Direwolves looking to bite back and really, basically the reverse all kill. It doesn't get much reverse than this.
Yeah, well, they have to essentially reverse sweep from a game that they didn't lose in the first place, that they unfortunately started on the wrong foot here. And of course, as we move into what is our second game, but also our first game between these teams, a lot of discovery is yet to actually be found. Direwolves and AV not actually scoping out each other's strategies. So this is potentially a best of one.
We see both top laners here actually going for the further for battle. So Trundles, some Trundles do like to go this over grasp of the Undying recently due to its health regen nerfs.
Yeah, and there's a lot
Health
of combat stats that the fervor provides, and if your lane opponent is actually going fervor as well, you'll match it. Trundle, of course, having an auto attack reset.
Cool.
Does get stacks up at least reasonably quickly. And Chippy's, he's a pretty big carry, rocking a rad skin.
The Mad Max-esque skin here, just finding whatever fits at the time, chucking it on, got the exhaust of a car as a weapon, but still looking quite
Jax would
good
be
doing
proud.
it. That's it, right? Who needs a real weapon? Just pick up whatever's close by, but should be seeing standard starting stuff out of both these teams. No Chiefs shenanigans standing in the brush at level 1.
No, both prioritizing a bit of extra experience and noting, as the desk actually said, that AV are kind of drafting themselves into a hole by early rotating that Ezreal. You'd want to hope that at least the bottom lane shows up and doesn't get cheesed.
See Triple just poking away on that Azir.
He's done well here, Triple, actually. The rule of thumb for Azir early is that you just hard push it in. Didn't quite get to the turrets, so Fantix was able to hold, but now he's level 2. Watch the
Guess
poke.
level 2 should be able to get Shish Kebab down, not going to hit it right away. Fantix does answer with a gold card, but look how aggressive Triple's positioning right now.
Yeah, aggressive, but he also misplayed, because you just throw the Q out, you would have at least procced Thunderlord, which I'm assuming he has.
He does.
Usual stuff. Either way, laning phase, you're right, he's at least stancing quite forward.
And both the junglers still off clearing their camps. As we head to the top lane for a little bit. Fiora trying to hit those vitals, gets one. Other one does spawn on the backside. But these two really want to fight here, and DDD might be in trouble. Forces the flash. Chippies, one more chomp should do it. There it is. First blood to Chippies.
DDD decides that he can fight the Trundle in a situation where I think you and I and everybody else at home watched that and said he can't do that. But he tried. It's unfortunate stuff because he 100% goes down for it. And an easy first blood for Chippies, the star top laner.
Yeah, got to be feeling good, especially after all things considered. So Fantix just threatening him with blue cards at this stage, Triple. Keeping at bay, knows that Graves should be getting his red buff pretty soon. One gold card into a red buff forces Triple's cleanse and flash probably.
And still, laning right now, Triple, quite well. You have to respect that if you're the Twisted Fate, and I do like that he's gone towards the teleport. Azir always has quite potent laning. He does need to be careful, so now that he can get back to lane, even after he loses trades, big fan of what Fantix has set up for the team so far.
DDD forced to use that teleport early to get back up to lane, only purchasing himself a refillable potion.
Yeah.
Don't know why I blanked on that one, and a rejuvenation bead on top of that.
That's a sign of a Fiora that doesn't want to lose lane any harder than he already has.
Bubble goes down onto Regret. Q misses from Chenny Boy, and Raze is just sitting there. Guts his Q procced, and a lot of damage. Forces the exhaust actually out of Jake, and now Jake might be in trouble. The heal comes out from Chenny Boy. Very good trade for this Direwolves bot lane.
And without being too harsh on AV, Direwolves played it well. I don't really want to discuss what just happened with AV there.
Sure.
And that's happened on more than one occasion now in more than one lane. Honestly, just questionable across the board right now. The performance is lacking, and Direwolves are picking up on that.
It's going to be on the back of Chelby and Triple to start the snowball rolling, get themselves in control.
That's the thing it always has been on Triple and Shelby. So whilst their performances are lacking, we've seen games where Chenny Boy has been 0-4 but just played Ashe and hit the arrow, and the game was over. Triple is on one of his best champions that we've seen him perform on in the Oceanic Pro Leagues, and Shelby's on Rek'Sai, and she is just unbelievably powerful at the moment. So always going to be in with an opportunity. The farm is still there, but so far not so good.
Raze still has summons available, but Chenny Boy going in very aggressively. You got to remember that Ashe still has the heal, and there's the Ignite. Regret 9 picks that one, but Jakey actually answered with the Flash W.
Yeah, Jakey answers, and Chenny definitely did not consider that the heal was still available for Raze. Raze actually still had Flash, as did Regret, so the summoners are in their advantage whenever he respawns, and all that remains are the supports to farm with one another.
Both having a difficult time at that, probably bound to get more gold off the Frost Queen's procs than anything else.
That was close to disaster once again for AV. Jakey, I think, has 2 levels in his W. Did enough damage to actually lock that one down, but only barely.
Well, Chenny Boy is going to be feeling the pain when he gets back to lane, currently sitting on a Cult and a Tear versus Raze BF sword. It's not going to... He's going to be feeling the volleys in full force.
Yeah. He's not exactly in the best position, but that's also just the price you pay being an Ezreal and an Ashe lane. And the opting towards BF sword opposed to the Caulfield's Hammer for cooldown reduction as well is very much a stylistic thing. Means he'll be doing a lot more auto attack damage. Doesn't need the cooldown reduction, valued as highly. And so if they're ever in a situation where an Ezreal with a Tear is actually auto attacking against an Ashe with a BF sword, you'd want to hope that his body's ready for what's coming.
DDD could just not stay in this lane anymore, but in the bot, Jake might be caught out with no flash. Chelby's there to protect him, but it might not be enough as collateral damage. Picks up that one, another kill for Direwolf.
Caught napping inside their own jungle. AV, no. They weren't getting out of that situation healthy or happy.
Speaking of getting out of a situation, he's forced to Q from the pillar. Chippies having none of this lane, just causing DDD to constantly have to check himself.
Yeah, and we're 7 minutes into this one, and it feels like Direwolves are just in absolute control. Chelby Bit slower on the jungle. Didn't get level 6 where Sybil did, and that ultimate was the kill under Jakey. The summoner spell is being burned from early laning phase and fighting, ultimately becoming the undoing.
Fantix level 7 now, has that ultimate available, should he choose to use it. But all of his lanes are doing very well right now, so really just has to try and keep Triple in check.
And it's funny that we've just come back to this situation of can Triple and Shelby actually get them over the line? Because right now, they are set up to fail.
The Avant recipe holding true tonight, it seems. But they still have that kind of one-game safety net available to them.
Well, we also don't know if it's holding true yet either. We're yet to see Triple and Shelby actually show up on Summoner's Rift, as their other laners on the outsides of them have been imploding around them.
Regrets level 5 goes in, gets the snare down onto Jake. Raze is 6, not going to use the ulti just yet, but now Fantix might be in a little bit of trouble, gets caught out, but Shelby on the wrong side of the wall. The flash comes through, the flash from Shelby, the gold card comes down, but Triple secures that one with a flash of his own. Now Sybil feels the poke.
And there they are, the dynamic duo got themselves the first kill using vision in their advantage. And find Fantix, who also burnt his flash whilst going down for that Sybil, not able to be there in time. Nor would he provide crowd control in the way of helping them out. So the score is 3-2. But the control is definitely still with Direwolves in these side lanes, whilst the middle lane now has a blue buff and a lot of power.
Direwolves do hold the gold advantage right now, as it is only slight, 1,000 at the moment. They have that 1 kill advantage, and they got the dragon of the original kill onto Jake, who's still sitting on level 5 down in that bot lane, so his disengage is a little bit off, but Chippy's level 8 just controlling this lane impeccably. DDD cannot even get close enough for a minion.
A refillable pot and a rejuve bead is not going to be enough to actually have you any kind of laning phase against a straight-up pickaxe from Chippies. There's just no situation where you'd favor a fight.
He might be in trouble here, just getting chunked down. Those stacks coming up. The Grand Duel has been procced, but still on that, DDD getting chunked out. The flash comes through, gets one more grand challenge proc, gives him that health and movement speed to get out, but he'll lose all these minions. Teleport available.
And funnily enough, Chippy has wasted his flash to look for the kill there, got really greedy, and he would have been able to still successfully 1v1. DDD gets himself to the Tiamat.
Direwolves looking like they really want to contest this blue buff, or at least force Shelby to smite it away, but Triple actually secures that one.
Now the confidence play from AV, Triple actually locking that one down.
Yeah.
Shows that he really wanted it and that he prioritized getting it. And he does.
It's just sitting on a Stinger and an Amp Tome right now, so still a bit off that Nash's Tooth that really starts the ball rolling for the Azir. Haven't seen Fantix look to make any plays just yet, but his team are doing that already. So, as mentioned earlier, you just got to make sure that Triple doesn't get too far ahead. And there's Shelby once again off in the wings, doing all the camps closest to his mid lane.
Damage control everywhere.
Yeah.
Such is the name of the game. Shelby looking to get his lane that is ahead further ahead, though, based off his stancing. The rest of the lanes are just, don't die, don't die, don't die. Twisted Fate can get between these lanes, even if he's losing mid. That's when one of the potential early problems does start to arise.
Yep. Well, speaking of early problems, there is none standing out more to me than this top lane, where Chippy's is just getting further and further ahead. And when that's where your superstar is, and he's doing this well, Direwolves, future's looking bright for them so far.
Yeah, it's just more about getting from the present to the future. And as it stands, I think Drake is probably the only present fight that they actually have available to them.
Yep. Drake spawning in about 2 minutes. Just a few wards down to the side of Avant. They've got one just around the Raptor camp, but crab control is in favor of Direwolves.
Fantix is opting towards the Abyssal Scepter route opposed to the Rod of Ages, which is one of the staple Twisted Fate items, but you can alternate between. I think going for the early Abyssal Scepter is a good way to keep yourself at least healthy in this lane, but you're more susceptible to physical damage.
Oh no, he gets just destroyed as he comes back into the lane. Who was waiting on the wings? It's Shelby. But look how low Triple got taken just by Fantix.
Yeah, a bit of the tower, a bit of the minions helping Fantix out, and yeah, big power spike for the Abyssal Scepter actually helps Fantix out. His survivability was noteworthy, but it doesn't save you from Shelby, which, as we mentioned, physical damage can be a pain in the bum.
Yep.
and very well executed and timed, knowing that he was going to teleport in to get the Zirsek.
Of course, on the back end of that Direwolves, they were able to secure themselves that Rift Herald in the side of Chippy, so just giving him more and more resources to excel right now, and he's doing just that currently. 20 or so CS above DDD in that top lane. Down in the bot. It's kind of been equalized here, Chenny. He is.
You don't want that fight.
Oh no, DDD, you're in a bit of trouble here. The pillar does not connect, but it might not matter. There is the proc coming from that Rift Herald, followed by the ultimate.
And with Flash available, DDD decides that he's going to riposte the damage on the assumption that I guess it was going to be a chomp as the ultimate last hits him. I am slightly confused watching this game unfold in front of us. Nonetheless, Chippies is being quite impressive.
We see the Rek'Sai here, Chelby picking himself up that early Sight Stone instead of the green Smite, so wants to secure the vision around the map, and it seems to be only Rek'Sais who go for that early Sight Stone.
Yeah, well, Cinderhulk junglers, generally speaking, can look to go for it. I think Rek'Sai's the only prevalent Cinderhulk jungler at the moment. So
Makes
yeah,
sense.
does make sense, especially as a champion that doesn't usually have vision, as you just use tremor sensors. You may want wards.
Well, Chippy's off the back of that second solo kill actually. Gets the tower with the help of the Rift Herald, and now Direwolves look for the dragon here. There is a ward spotting them out, so Avant know about this, but is there anything they can realistically do to stop it?
And the ward's about to be cleared.
There it is.
No, there is nothing that they can do to stop this. Chippies has teleport. He is far too big.
2 levels ahead.
Summoner's Rift at this point in the game. I mean, Chippies is not just the win condition of Direwolves, but he is set up to be the win condition.
Yeah, they're giving him every resource he needs to carry. Now he's also got a Mountain Drake to his name, so split pushing wasn't hard enough to deal with.
I don't even
for DDD.
Like, I don't even mean like that. They have
Sure.
an Ash to throw arrows
Oh,
out
wow.
and like protect the rest of the lane. The Twisted Fate to cause 1-3-1 or split push, even to look at Chippy's lane and kill DDD with him. I think even in terms of draft, they've been set up for this. Whereas the side of AV, and to nobody's surprise, they're looking to get triple ahead.
Chippy's born into greatness, it seems, in this game. Well, 4 members of Direwolves actually positioning very aggressively around this bot lane. The ultimate does go wide. Jake flashes it in the nick of time, but it's going to be a free tower.
He does indeed flash it, almost juked it without, but the precautionary flash is enough to get him out safely. And Direwolves still accelerating the pace of this game through turrets taken. Now looking to bleed out is the side of AV through objectives, including blue buffs.
Chippy still has his teleport available, so once he's done causing shenanigans in the bot lane, should he choose, can teleport straight back up to that top lane, but might just go for the leisurely walk back up there while Fantix dealing with that mid lane tower that actually Triple took out.
Yep.
So traded mid lane for bot lane.
Funnily enough, that was a 1v1 type of trade in the middle lane, thanks to the repeated ganks from Chelby camping him. They find themselves in a situation where they're losing Drakes, but they're trading with gold, and they're slowing the bleeding, which is good to say for an AV fan. Doesn't mean it's going to be everything for them, however, because they've just got the ever-present problem of the top side.
Despite equalizing those turrets, Direwolves find themselves another 1,000 gold ahead. It's going to be up to Avant to really, like you said, stop the bleeding here, because Chippy's right now is causing wound by wound every single time he appears anywhere on the map.
He's just so far ahead. Everything that AV want could be undone by the Trundle. Big old troll in the top lane. We're still yet to see Fantix use his ultimate. He could look towards that top lane at any time, honestly, and use it, but I feel like the way that mid's going, Triple is putting in work on him right now, and it could actually mean that you try and use it, you could lose more than what your ultimate provides, or they could counter gank you. And as a 0-2 Twisted Fate, you don't really want the Azir to come to that top lane and help out. You're better off winning the 1v1 and not making it a 2v2.
Yeah, Triple sitting on 30 CS advantage over his lane opponent. Fantix got himself that needlessly large rod on top of the Nash's Tooth, and Sybil, look at that aggressive position. Chelby spots him out. Triple is nearby. The bot lane can respond earlier from Direwolves, so Sybil gets out.
Yep. So AV actually had Triple rotating nearby, and whilst Fantix could get there again, Don't give opportunities to the mid laner of AV to have any gold in his back pocket. Work on where he isn't.
Oh no, Raze might be in trouble. The flash knock up, and there's the teleport coming in. Who's it going to be? It's Chippy's Chelby in a world of hurt. The tidal wave does buy them enough time. DDD comes in as well. The members of Direwolves are low. They're forced to back away, but Fantix in the mid triple should just get one more attack. Should do it. There it is. But now he's forced to retreat.
No, Triple's still looking strong.
Oh no, Chippies has to flash over. That's 2 flashes expended on the side of Direwolves. So good aggression coming out of Avant, starting a fight, getting the TF.
Yep, and the teleport was a little bit late from the Fiora, but all things considered, they hold the fort in that bottom lane, and that is what they're designed to do. Nami disengage. Ezreal can use his E whilst Ashe arrowed, because Ezreal can. One of the few champions besides Tristana that can make that work. And meanwhile, whilst they are fighting in the bottom lane, Fantix is looking aggressively postured to do something himself. Gets the solo kill.
Sybil trying to come over that wall in time to stop down Triple, but he just Shurima shuffles the heck out of there, and now Direwolves sending Regret and Raze into that mid lane tower, the last out of it stands.
He does have to recall right now, which means the next wave could mean damage onto that turret, so I like that Jakey is here, however Chenny Boy is not. And this is where another opportunity presents itself for Direwolves. Do we lane swap? Do we 1-3-1? Are you going to kill the ward, Sybil? There we go. All the questions being answered.
3 ranged champions here. Going to start dealing damage down onto that tower. Sybil takes a bit of poke, is able to quick draw out of the majority of it.
And once that Rylai's is done for the Azir, he is going to be a monster running around. Rampant, honestly.
Shelby might be in a bit of trouble here. Does have the tunnel available. Tunnel's under the pillar, but it gets stopped. Oh no! He's got to get out of this one. Chippy just needs 1 auto, and it's going to proc one more time. He's so low. There's the collateral damage, finishing him off. Now DD can only watch as Fantix teleports to the top lane.
I feel like he tunneled after the pillar actually happened, and it still somehow blocked him. But either way, they got themselves the kill onto the jungler of AV. Doesn't matter how they got it, they definitely still did. And they look towards map plays. The red buff is only the consolation, unfortunately. But Chippies gets it.
Oh, when Chippies gets those Rift Herald procs, it just spells disaster. So what we were waiting for onto Chelby is he gets deleted. Now 5 members of Direwolves all poised and ready around this mid lane tower. But as long as Triple's there, I don't know how good their odds are.
But he does not have Cleanse right now. So realistically, with the Ashe Arrow available, they can look to force. This will be the 3rd Drake that they take, and if AV try and respond to this with a fight, they will lose that fight.
Infernal Dragon is going to be the one they're taking here. Shelby making his way in, goes for the smite, not going to get it. Sybil secures at the tidal wave, knocking up 2 members, but Triple, he's the only carry there. Gets Fantix, going to get taken out. Gets shut down by the Ashe. Chenny Boy in full retreat. A few more red buff procs should do it. DDD is there, but what can he realistically do in this fight? Sybil does get knocked up by the the bubble. There comes the Ezreal. The grand challenge has been laid down. Looking onto Sybil. The collateral damage across 3 members. There goes a kill by Raze. And now Jakey, the only one left alive as Chippy and Sybil are barreling down.
And welcome to your moment, AV, where Chippy is just one-man armies all over you. 3 Drakes, 3-0-3. Direwolves on the back of their top laner right now are looking completely unstoppable. AV's new top laner, DDD, is not in the same position, and Triple did not have his cleanse available. So the fight breaks out. AV lose.
After that skirmish, though, the kill count is quite close. 4,000 gold actually separates these 2 teams, with Direwolves out to an early lead, currently 2 towers ahead. They've got themselves those 3 Drakes, kind of a colourful pattern here coming through. So 1 of each so far, just missing out on a cloud. Not going to get it this game, and I'm sure no tears shed.
And it looks like the next one's going to be an Infernal. So if AV contested the last one, the next one's going to be tenfold that, because they must contest it from here on out.
Triple's got himself his Rylai's now, so these next fights should look a little bit differently. He was able to dish down the damage, but once Raze gets that Q stacked, he's just able to unleash the flurry of arrows.
Yeah, and still AV is showing presence, which, you know what, I don't know why they're this deep. They're against the Twisted Fate. He will find you.
Look at the damage just from Sybil alone. Shelby forced to retreat. Triple gets the poke down, half hits Regret. Well, they've got their sights set on this bot tower, but Direwolves are there to answer.
So So one big Azir is all that they really have to rely on. A bit of split pushing potentially from the Fiora. And there's no way to respond from Direwolves unless they look for a pick with the Ash Arrow. So it looks like they might still get a free turret from pulling Direwolves around the map. Never mind.
Looks like Fantix is going to ult up, and the threat of more to come is enough to require DDD to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, he could
good
probably
save.
fight the Twisted Fate, but he does
They're
need to
lacking a lot
purchase
of vision
his
right now.
Hydra before he does that.
There it is. It's not that Ravenous Hydra. Sybil going to donate the blue buff, of course, over to Fantix. Now Chenny Boy actually moving up to that top lane, leaving this bot lane completely undefended, and Chippies with that Rift Herald buff and the Frostborn Gauntlet make short work of these towers.
Yeah, and there is the question of lane assignment here, honestly, from AV. They put Chenny into a side lane. He doesn't have a QSF. He can
Oh
just
no,
outright
he
die.
might be in trouble here. Here is Regret. Here is Sybil. The snare should land. The Crystal Arrow goes wide. Fantix, one gold card should do it. Triple. He comes in off the back of that. Looking to go for Sybil, but the Hexdrinker keeping him alive for now, but not enough as he goes down. Regret forced to retreat. There is Jake, but Raze is also nearby, so only a 1-for-1. Jungler for ADC.
And Rek'Sai is on the bottom side of the map. So without Triple right now, this entire team crumbles. And for some reason, this guy, when it comes to the OPL specifically, he shows up. He is everything for Avant Garde right now.
All their eggs are in one basket right now, and its name is Triple, so he's got to be very, very careful. But he's on the champion to do it, right?
They
Azir,
want
he's got
mid.
so much poke, so much engage with that Shurima shuffle, and just the raw damage output that's so consistent. But we've seen this story a million
here we
times,
go.
and DDD, he's trying to proc them all, but it doesn't matter as one more auto attack should do it as Chippy's health bar full.
Stands and delivers. The bottom lane turret will inevitably fall down if Direwolves can pressure elsewhere on this map. And just like that, the gold lead, not 4, now 5, could become 6, and starts to snowball out of control.
Direwolves just taking this game and running with it right now. About to get themselves a 4th tower of the game. 6,000 gold in the lead now. Really, it's all on the back of Chippies, but of course Sybil, Fantix, they've been doing their part. Fantix has been keeping Triple in that mid lane, who's the one saving grace for Avant.
But they're still out drafting AV because there's no answer to any side lane threat. Twisted
Exactly
Fate
right.
can sit in the other lane if Triple's dealing with Trundle. The 3-man unit that they have of Karma, Graves, and Ash
He's on the inhibitor turrets.
is more than capable.
Sybil takes away that one, smites it for good measure, and Shelby just forced to sit there and watch, even with the backup from Jake and Chenny. Can't contest.
What sums up this entire game?
Yeah.
Shelby has been forced to sit there and watch as his team is losing in every single side lane. Chenny Boy trying to deal with the Twisted Fate without his QSS built, and he might even be going for a Hexdrinker from the looks of it. Means that he's going to have a bad time. If that's a Hexdrinker, still challenging the lack of cleanse that I'm seeing on Summoner's Rift these days in the OPL.
What a very easy to land CC that can be the deal breaker, especially when split pushing is so prevalent in the meta.
297 CS, 25 minutes.
That's insane.
He's about to get another wave to make it 300, and then he's going to get a blue buff to make it a little bit more.
So Triple, he's really the last saving grace right now for Avant. He's on the champion to do it. He's got himself that Void Staff now. Going to be getting a massive amount of AP as well off the blue buff.
300 CS at 25 minutes is
That's
godlike.
It's damn impressive.
That is ridiculous. Like, there is crazy. That is beyond crazy. I have to actually commend him for that. In a game where his team is losing the map, he's still winning. Doesn't matter what happens on Summoner's Rift for some reason, Triple wins.
But Triple is playing an immaculate Azir right now, really showcasing this champion to its utmost abilities. Currently 4-1-2. Rylai's, Nash's Void Staff, and Berserker Greaves to boot. But you mentioned they're going to have to contest this dragon,
This
but
is like
they're going to get pinched by the Trundle.
Oh, so this is probably the only point in the game where I would say AV, like, not only do they have to fight, they could win. Simply because they've got 3 big items on the Azir compared to 2 and a bit for the mid laner of Direwolves. They've not completed Infinity Edge as well for Raze. It's just that they can't. They just
Dragon,
can't do it.
It just gets demolished without even a second guess. Shelby is able to get over the wall this time despite The Enchanted Crystal Arrow landing now. Sybil might get cut off by Triple here. Couple pokes through, does the damage, has to use the Buckshot defensively. The tidal waves come through, not hitting anyone. Ray's in a good position. Does get sped up by the Karma.
They just need DDD to deal with Chippies, and that is pretty much not happening already at this point.
No, that is not.
But AV still push them back. Fantix with half health does hang around.
Sure.
They want to fight. They have to fight, honestly, because if they don't find something soon, they're getting bled out of this game massively. Baron power play? Risky business.
Chippy's in the top lane, rather. Grand Challenge goes down from DDD.
That's a deterrent, and it doesn't last very long.
No.
Chippies will come back with full health in the next wave and probably take the turret.
Triple just answered with a turret of his own, but of course that's out for Inhibitor. Definitely not a worth trade. Where Avant, they can't just keep leaving DDD here, who has to recoil just off seeing that Twisted Fate ult now. The tower goes down to Chippies alone, the mid tower as well. Direwolves, they're just running rampant.
And Shelby was on a magical journey, but he gets out. All things considered, yeah, AV. They can't deal with it. They've drafted themselves, it was mentioned many times. They're in a hole, and they have no way to dig out.
Exactly right here. And trying to band together to stall the bleeding. The Inhibitor still stands. The silver lining is there.
Right now, it's like they're in quicksand and Triple's like throwing a rope to them, you know? And they're trying to grab the rope, but it doesn't make the distance. The rope's too short. That's literally AV right now.
It's a great analogy, Rusty. And
That's not a great analogy. Please don't commend me.
All right.
What a disaster.
No, Triple, he's really going to have to find some magical play to just equal up this game at this stage, as Direwolves are just running away. 7,000 gold now. Every time we look back, they add on a few hundred more gold. 11 kills to 8, 6 towers to 2, and 4 dragons to 0.
They have to try and force a fight. They're yet to actually force one, and Chippies is just winning.
Well, Chippies is doing a great job of forcing fights here as DDD gets deleted.
Yep. Chippies, he's probably just going to keep going bottom.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a rinse and repeat strategy where AV are yet to respond in any manner whatsoever. They're giving up Drakes. They're not forcing fights for it. They're not dealing with the Trundle, because if they deal with the Trundle, the Twisted Fate wins the top side of the map. And this is a 1-3-1 where the 3 members of Direwolves are holding near the Baron. It's inexcusable, but it's really unfortunate because this happened through laning phase.
No one's even coming to deal with Chippies here. He's getting free reign of this Inhibitor. The recalls have only just started. 10 seconds left on DDD, and there is no hope for this Inhibitor.
No, just the Ezreal, and again, AV's resolve is to fight.
Oh no, Triple, he gets caught out. Luckily, he cleanses it away, but now Shelby might be in the firing lines. Fantix goes a little bit too deep, but he does get the stun off in time. The tidal wave comes through. There is Triple getting the kill, but Chippies is in the fight. He's got his sights set on Shelby. Deletes the Rek'Sai. Now Triple forced to get over the pillar to safety, but Avant, they're doing well, but can they deal with the raid boss? Chippies just barreling down, whacking them with the tire iron. There goes the Fiora, but Chenny Boy, Jake, and Triple, and the red buff get that one.
And they can look towards this Baron. They do only have 3 people. I think Jakey's heals might suffice for this.
Sure.
Better late than never.
They get the ace as well.
Is always a way to look at this. They will lock this one down as long as they can tank it. Let's see how this one progresses.
It's going to be difficult. Both Jakey and Chenny Boy can only take about 2 more shots, but
they've got it.
Luckily, Triple, with that Rylai's, has a very deep health bar.
So we have to actually take stock of what just happened, because AV won a team fight in a situation where Triple used his cleanse early on in Ash Arrow. And what happened is that Jakey bought a Mikhail's, and he is the saving grace, because what's Triple? You said he was running away from the Trundle. I beg to differ. He's actually double killing Raze and Regret with this the whole time. Beautiful. He has actually positioned himself well enough that him and Jakey, between those two, can 2-man carry as long as there are bodies in front of them to soak up damage. DDD is a body to soak damage. And that's a team fight that was 100% necessary from AV. They have a 7-1 and 3-0 in the middle lane right now, but it could be that it's too little too late.
It may just be, but all hopes lie on Triple Azir right now. They've caught back up in gold a little bit, only 4.5 opposed to 7. Sounds good on the side of the Avant camp, and they've got themselves a Baron buff. Triple's got the Rabadon's death cap.
That man is huge. In comparison to everybody except the Trundle on Summoner's Rift, that is a monstrous Azir.
Now Trundle does have the Spirit Visage now, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Triple to take down that Trundle.
Direwolves do have a slight opportunity available to them, though, remembering that there's no Cleanse and no Mikhails.
That's right.
For Triple and Jakey, respectively. So crowd control hits. It does hit. This is a third Infernal, but if AV don't fight it, that's 24% increased AP and AD.
That's ridiculous right there. They have to go for this one. Looks like Red Buff will be the first priority, and
Shelby
damn,
smites it
Triple
'cause he
gets
can.
it so quick. You're right, Shelby does smite it away. Pink Ward down on the Dragon, spawning in 15 seconds, but Super Minion's going to be knocking on the door any second now, Rusty.
DDD with no teleport means that a 4v5 is entirely likely. Those minions will probably take one of those Nexus turrets if they beat around the bush here with the Infernal. And Direwolves' ultimate opportunity would be not to fight for it, but to keep them busy. Instead, though, they're looking towards top lane.
All 5 members.
I like
currently-
this, actually, as a movement. They don't
Okay.
need the third Infernal Drake. They have 2 of them. They're still scaling, and they know that AV have to respond to their Nexus turrets.
Oh, forcing them out of the base here. 4 members, 3 actually from Avant, coming up to defend this tower. They do defend it, whilst leaving DDD behind to deal with the Super Minions.
And now we're at a point where those summoner spells and item activations are about to be available again. And AV, whilst they were somewhat on the offensive, can now commit to that throughout this. They have the capabilities to team fight. They have a team that is 1-6 top, is still able to be relevant because the Fiora has still got 3 items. And the Guardian Angel's the important one.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Picking up that GA allows for what we saw last time when she came back in and just chomped to death to maybe come back up and do a little more.
What it actually means is that DDD does have to team fight and wants the team fight. He's got AD items, and instead of trying to like slow transition towards team fighting with maybe a Randuin's and a Spirit Visage or something like that to sustain through it, he can't do that. And the risk with what he's got now in the Guardian Angel, yes, it's immediately team fight relevant, but if he dies to Chippies or he finds himself in a dueling scenario with the Trundle, he just loses. And if he loses that GA, just means he's going to die twice.
Exactly right.
So
here.
he
And
has to team fight.
once again, Chippy's making his way down that bot lane.
Yeah, he's actually with the Super Minions, so
Got that back up here, of course. On the opposite side of the map, Fantix starting up that top lane push. Remember, Avant's top inner tower
Here we go.
is very, very low, but Avant, they're calling the bluff here. They're going in 4 members strong down this mid. DDD does have the teleport available.
they want to force the teleport, you'd imagine, out of Chippies
The wave
or
clear's there,
Fantix,
though.
but the Trundle can keep going. If the Trundle keeps going, with this inhibitor being back up, AV have to respond. Now they're going to lose top lane for just walking down the middle lane, so it was a good idea. But unless they kill him, the execution's not there.
Yeah, Chippy's just going to recall get out of jail free card here as once again Avant are left scratching their heads wondering where did we go wrong as Fantix takes that top tower and now Direwolves back over the middle of the lane, middle of the map threshold here.
I mean, I can tell you where it went wrong. Laning phase. Sorry, champion select.
Sure.
The laning phase did also go wrong for them. I guess they're both accurate factors. Either way, Direwolves have given them the opportunity to come back into this, and it's through Fantix being exploited by Triple. The initial thought was perhaps Fantix is a good enough mid laner that he will diffuse Triple.
No.
You can't stop him, apparently.
A Triple 7-1-3. The true carry for his team right now, of course. Chippies looking to contest that on 6-1-4 on the Trundle.
The way I see this, though, is if you can't beat AV, you beat the map. And so running the Twisted Fate, and again, this is why I say drafting phase, running the Twisted Fate Trundle means that, yes, Chippies is actually the primary tank for this team and will need to be present if they team fight, but they've already proven that that's a risk that they don't necessarily need to take. You can have Twisted Fate top, Trundle bottom, run the 1-3-1, utilize the Ash Arrow effectively to engage for your side lanes if it comes down to it, use the Karma to disengage.
Getting ace while 7,000 gold in the lead would be a little bit disheartening, to say the least. So sticking to the tried and true strategy that they know works for them.
And you have to commend AV for getting to this point in the game at all.
Oh,
Damage
definitely,
control on the
definitely.
Trundle was basically non-existent. Yet they still got themselves to the point where they have 65,000 gold in their back pocket. And the carries are getting their items. They're not too far off those carries having enough gold that it doesn't actually matter how late we are in the game.
Triple's got his cleanse, Chenny Boy has his QSS, and Jake's got the Mikhail's Crucible. So all the important members here have a way to avoid the initiate from Fantix and Raze.
I think DDD couldn't decide which item he wanted. So instead of, with slot efficiency for items,
Yep.
just decided to get a Kindle Gem with the Warden's Mail.
Why
That's,
not?
That's a big item expenditure that he has to have a lot of gold in his back pocket now to finish anything. So he's going to be sitting on that for quite some time, whereas on the flip side, Chippy's pretty big.
He's nearing that full build now, just waiting for that more gold
Even has a Hex
to
Drink.
come down. Yeah, it seems like more of the Malmort is going to be his final item complete here, but I guess he knows the one true threat is Triple right now, and every little bit of magic resistance helps. And minute 12, that Elder Dragon is going to spawn. When you have 4 Drakes already under your belt,
Yeah,
just increases the power.
absolutely. The Elder Drake is something that Direwolves can look towards, but I think they should prioritize the Baron
Sure.
because it lets them win the game.
Exactly
Looking
right
at
here.
minion manipulation, actually a favorable thing here for Direwolves to execute upon with the Twisted Fate.
Baron is live, and True Shot Barrage not available for checking. Does use that to clear it out. Not the longest of cooldowns, so should be up before Direwolves are ready to start it, but Chippy's once again being a nuisance.
Well, step 1 is now to continue controlling these side lanes with Fantix and Chippy. Step 2 is vision and vision denial on the pit itself, but they give opportunities to AV by splitting as a 1-3-1 to clear the area out and perhaps force something in the area. See how they play this one out. This is not something you want to take if you were DDD.
DDD just has to retreat out of this one, throws down the grand challenge, but Chippy doesn't care at all. The pillar goes down, but look at this, Avant. They've
Sybil.
started the Baron. It gets taken by Shelby. Sybil tried to do something cheeky, not going to happen. Now the Graves has to run away from this one, but in the bot lane, Twisted Fate and Trundle are there. They're on the inhibitor. Now Raze in the 1v1. It's not going to matter though, as Raze gets it.
Raze barely gets it. They're looking to end the game.
Yeah, they're going hard out. One Nexus Tower falls, the second one soon to follow, but everyone coming back down. Fantix, he's trying to get the stuns up. Triple is dead. Only DDD survives. Sybil and Regret9 making their way in. Shelby in full retreat with only a Guardian Angel to his name.
Yeah, this is a lot of time now. Shelby dies. There's only the Fiora and the Nami left alive.
no.
They have enough time to look to just outright close this one.
They've got the super minions coming in. They've got Raze on Ashe in the mid lane, pushing it as fast as she can. Here comes the team. Where is their carry? They're knocking it in as Jakey gets deleted from the map. DDD, the next one to follow, and the Nexus Tower goes down. The Nexus is going to follow, and Dire will say, 1 game down, no bans, who cares?
Yeah, better late than never from this Direwolves side, and a defiance, to say the least, from Triple on the Azir, but it's not enough to carry the entire team, to be perfectly honest with you.
They did a great job of even getting that far in the game, as you said. Getting an ace while 7,000 gold down is no small feat, but it proved too much. The map control out of Chippies and Fantix was just, there was no answer for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's safe to say that looking at this, the drafting was ultimately the undoing of AV.
That's exactly right, but we're going to send it back to the desk to break down game number 2 of that series.
Thanks so much, guys. And with that, it does go back to 1-1. Direwolves picking up the victory on Summoner's Rift. However, Avant-Garde, we kind of mentioned it. We said that the draft wasn't fantastic, that they kind of had losing lanes all over the shop. And did Chippies kind of beat them repetitively to death with that piece of information throughout the game, Prosker?
Chippies went nuts. Triple D, that was interesting. Kind of walks in, gives away the first blood kill, and it just goes from bad to worse there, repeatedly just feeding into this Trundle and opening up a ton of split push options from Direwolves.
And let's talk about, I guess, the tactic in there, because you made a pretty, it was a different strategy. You know, they would have been better off to throw 3 bans at Chippies, you know, help their substitute top laner out. Triple can obviously hold his own in this mid lane. Everything was going to be available regardless. That was a little bit strange from Avant-Garde to just leave him out to dry like that a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't really understand the ban strategy when you end up leaving up Fantix's strong champions anyway. Like, I mean, there was also Fizz available, TF, like all the champions he's known for. They just banned a bunch of meta picks when they could have banned out as much of Chippy's pool as possible to help their top laner, yeah.
And another lane that kind of did go awry, we kind of mentioned it going into the game as well, is that Chenny and Jake do appear to be a little bit outclassed here. I'm going to say that Chenny in particular, because Jake had a pretty good game there, but Raze and Regret time and time again able to dominate the laning phase at least, getting ahead down there in the bottom lane.
Oh yeah, there was the 1v1 kill as well as Ashe versus Ezreal in the Baron pit, which pretty much just kind of was a microcosm for how that lane went. Props to Jake though. His Nami range support, Spencer, we were talking about this in the green room, are actually quite good. So hope to see him continue to be on the range supports, but Chenny just looks really uncomfortable, and I think they need to put him on a utility AD carry. Yes, Ezreal can itemize into utility with the Iceborne Gauntlet, but get the Ashe, get the Sivir, because a big part of AV's composition is when they, not were ahead, but when Triple was strong, they really had no way to say, we're fighting here and we're fighting now. You saw the very slow-moving Nami ultimate when they thought that they could pick someone up or they wanted to make a flank, because that was pretty much all they had, and a Sivir and an Ashe would have solved that problem.
Yeah, it certainly would have been able to help out with the engagement to potentially a Trundle in the top lane as well. Do want to hit on the mid laners very quickly. We said a lot of this series would be dictated by how Fnatic can go head-to-head versus Triple. I think it's fairly safe to say that Triple has started to add another notch to his belt here. He did quite convincingly beat out the mid laner of Direwolves, but it looks like Sybil has kind of given up on a tried and true strategy, Benzel, which is kind of go towards that mid laner and help Fnatic out. What's going on there?
Yeah, it seems that, I mean, part of that must be putting him on the Graves. Definitely when he's playing ganking champions like Elise and even his Zac, he often sits around mid lane constantly, but we're not seeing that from the Graves.
I've always said that Sybil is a very talented jungler, but he's a small, effective champion pool. I like his Zac, I like his Elise. I'm not too hot on his Graves. It's better than the last time I saw it, so props there, but overall, like, yes, Direwolves won this, but the fact that it went to a base race and the fact that they lost a team fight 7,000 gold down because Triple got Azir, expect to see that one banned, but still really close to call for how much of a lead Direwolves had.
Yeah, it certainly was, and with that, Direwolves are able to get it back to 1-1, guys, so don't go anywhere. After the break, we'll have the last game of the night as Avantgarde versus Direwolves continues.